Hey everyone! So let's talk about a name you probably see every single day, Watt. Yep, it's printed on light bulbs, it's how we measure the power that runs our entire lives. But the story behind that one little word, it's not just about electricity. It's the story of an invention that literally powered a revolution and built the world that we live in today.
So let's just start with a really simple question. We all know what a watt is. It's a unit of power. But have you ever actually stopped and thought, why? Why that name for something so basic, so fundamental to everything we do?
Well, the answer is, of course, that it's named after a guy, James Watt. And you know, this isn't just some casual honor they threw his way. His work was so foundational, his improvements to the steam engine were so revolutionary that they became the actual engine of a whole new industrial age.
But, to really get the revolution, you first have to understand the man behind it. And that story, it doesn't start in some giant factory. Nope, it starts in a little workshop over in Scotland. So, James Watt was born way back in 1736, and he was just a natural maker. He basically grew up in his dad's workshop, and he had this brilliant mind for math and for building models. Now, even though he had pretty poor health his whole life, his talent was just undeniable. After a year of training in London, he gets this incredible opportunity. He gets to set up his own workshop right inside the University of Glasgow. And it's here that he becomes friends with some of the greatest minds of the time. I'm talking about people like the economist Adam Smith. I mean, you couldn't ask for a better place for a genius like him to grow.
And believe me, he was going to need every bit of that genius to tackle a problem that had pretty much stumped engineers for 50 years. How do you make the steam engine actually, efficient?
Okay, so the big problem was with the main steam engine of the day, the Newcomen engine. See, it used a single cylinder for everything, for both heating and cooling. So hot steam would push the piston up, then cold water was sprayed in to create a vacuum, which pulled the piston down. Watt realized the huge fatal flaw here. About 3/4 of all the energy was being wasted just reheating the cylinder every single time. His big idea was revolutionary, but also so simple. Just create a separate chamber just for the cooling part. That way, the main cylinder could stay hot all the time, saving a colossal amount of fuel and energy.
And this brilliant idea didn't come to him in some stuffy lab. The story goes that the whole solution for this separate condenser just popped into his head while he was out for a walk in a park back in May of 1765. It was a true eureka moment, one that would literally change the course of history.
But here's the thing, an idea, even a world-changing one, is still just an idea. Turning that breakthrough into a machine that actually worked and that you could sell, well, that turned out to be an even bigger challenge, and one he just couldn't face alone.
Yeah, that eureka moment in the park, that was just the beginning. It took him over a full decade to get his first commercial engine up and running. These were years filled with total frustration, financial trouble, and endless technical problems. Watt even had to take a side job as a surveyor just to make ends meet. Success was anything but overnight. The real turning point didn't come until 1775, when he finally partnered up with a savvy manufacturer named Matthew Boulton.
Boulton brought two absolutely critical things to the table: money and connections. He put up the cash, and he introduced Watt to the best iron workers in the world. See, the biggest technical problem was making a cylinder and piston that fit together perfectly, with a near-perfect seal. The solution came from a cannon maker, of all people, a guy named John Wilkinson, who had perfected precision boring. It was this perfect team-up, the genius idea, the sharp business mind, and the master craftsman, that finally made the whole thing a reality.
And Watt was no one-hit wonder. The man was a relentless innovator. For example, to make his engines useful for more than just pumping water, he came up with something called the sun and planet gear to create rotary motion. You know, the spinning action that you need to power factory machines. He even invented the concept of horsepower. And he did it as a brilliant marketing tool, a super simple way to explain to customers just how powerful his new engines were compared to the animals they were used to. The guy was just a fountain of ingenuity.
So, when we look back at this incredible career, what's the lasting impact? What are the big lessons here for us today?
Okay, to put his achievement in perspective, get this. We're talking about a 5-fold increase in fuel efficiency. This wasn't just a little improvement, it was a quantum leap. This is what made steam power affordable and practical. It turned it from this niche tool that was only used in mines into the undisputed workhorse of the entire Industrial Revolution.
So when you really look at his life's work, it really gives us a powerful blueprint for how innovation happens. What can we really take away from his journey?
Well, his journey really is a timeless guide to innovation. First, he didn't just see a clunky machine. He identified the real problem, all that wasted energy. Then, he applied core scientific principles to come up with a solution. Next, he showed incredible perseverance, right? Refusing to give up through 10 years of failure. And finally, he understood that a brilliant idea just isn't enough. You have to collaborate. He partnered with people who had the business and manufacturing skills that he didn't. And that's a lesson that is just as true today as it was back then.
And in the end, it really all came down to this single-minded focus. A quote of his says it all. "I can think of nothing else but this machine." It was that passion, that complete obsession, that didn't just build a better engine, it built the modern world.